with chocolate ice cream. She took her finger and she went like that with the chocolate cake and ate it. Are you doing something that you want, or are you doing something that consumers would pay for? We have over 100,000 app reviews. It's got a 4.8 star rating.
This is not an easy mechanical process to go build. All right, guys, welcome back to Built America. We have Jacob Zuppke here, CEO of Whisker. Jake, thanks for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to today's podcast.
Jacob, not many people dream of reinventing the litter box, but you have came in and transformed that. Tell us a little about Whisker and where it all started.
I think anybody who's ever scooped dreamed of finding a better way, but not everybody has taken action on that. Unfortunately, our founder, Brad Baxter, did. In 1998, he inherited a couple cats and saw firsthand how unsightly the traditional litter box was and decided to take action. So came up with the original invention for a litter robot, partnered with a patent holder who had some IP that he felt would be pertinent to the success of the product, and brought the first litter robot to market in April of 2000. And it's been a fun journey ever since, and I look forward to sharing more throughout today's conversation. But for those who don't know what the litter robot is, it's a self-cleaning litter box for cats. It's fully automatic and makes it so you never have to scoop again.
Tell us about, obviously there's a lot of friction of picking up cat poo, right? And owning pets and going through that process. And you guys have turned that into somewhat of a frictionless process. But throughout that entire journey, it's no easy task to go create a robotic way to go pick up litter and be self-sufficient to do so. Tell us the process of how you guys fully came about this invention.
Yeah, so Brad, our founder, is a mechanical engineer. He sought out a better way to, I'll call it, reinvent the litter box. And at the time, there was a sifting rakes. So if you think about a deposit of any sort, a poop or a pee, and a rake coming through, it'd be like taking a rake into your yard where a dog just, laid a fresh one and you're raking through it. It's not fully discarding of it, and it's probably making a little bit more of a mess. And at the time, that's what was on the market. So Brad thought about a different way to do it using gravity. So the way that the litter robot works is that it actually uses gravity to separate the waste from the clean litter using our cycle process, where it cycles about 270 degrees around, deposits the waste into the carbon filtered drawer beneath, automatically separating the dirty litter from the clean litter, bringing the unit back home and bringing the litter back to its home position. So your cat has a fresh bed of litter and you never have to deal with scooping. And in my household with 2 cats, I'm only having to empty. We have 2 litter robots. You really only need one, but I have 2 just because. And, I'm only having to empty the one unit maybe once every 10 days, both of them. But yeah, with a 1 cat household, maybe once every 10 to 14 days, with a 2 cat household every 7 to 10 days. Really depends on the size of your cat and how many cats you have.
Jacob, this is not an easy mechanical process to go build. I'm sure when Brad was trying to invent this, there's a lot of redesign that has to go through this. And there's a lot of, walls you have to go over as well in order to build something that's robotic, probably has some level of AI built into it as well. And there's a cost barrier to entry too. And you guys are bootstrapped, you guys weren't VC backed whatsoever. And a lot of companies like this, from the outside looking in, would look like, oh, this is a VC backed unique technology, but you guys are not. So if I'm an entrepreneur today, and I'm interested in starting something like this, how does one go about building the first MVP? And then, one thing as well is, doing one piece of inventory is not so difficult, but doing thousands is very difficult. And you guys have still done that in a bootstrap fashion. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, I'm going to start at the tail end of your question. So how does someone do it today? I mean, additive manufacturing has evolved so fast over the last 25 years that if we go back to when Brad built his first prototype, it was a lot more crude than what a new prototype looks like for us today. So with the advent of 3D printing and the evolution of 3D printing over the last decade, you're able to spin up what looks like a finished product almost a lot quicker than you could do so 25 years. So I think building out a product via 3D printing, some, hacking together some of your parts to make it work and be able to do something quickly to prove out, do you have a product? I mean, I think one thing that we're even finding today with 100 engineers on our team, a 650 person total team size, even today, it's still hard to figure out, do you have a viable product? I mean, do you have a new idea that is worth a consumer investing in? And we're working on a series of new products. I've publicly stated before, we want to really shape the future of pet care across food, water, and waste. And as we think about new categories, we have to get out of our own way sometimes and make sure that we're solving a real problem. And so early prototyping, testing, iterating, and proving out that we have something before we put real money into it, I think is how we do things today. Fortunately, all those 3D printers now live in our building. So we're probably a little bit better off than the person starting a hardware company today. But you see it every day on Kickstarter with companies that are able to prove out concepts a lot more iteratively and get a working prototype together to say, yes, I have something. Um, Along the way, I mean, it was a journey. Having not raised capital in the early days, Brad literally self-funded, putting a lot of his own capital into the business for the first 5 years. Um, he believes it was somewhere around $350,000 is kind of a number that he's floated around over the years that he put in personally over those first 5 years to get the company to a point where it turned profitable. In addition to other funds coming in from the other business he was running, where he was able to use that to augment Whisker, what was then automated pet care products, to get to the point that in 2005, we were able to afford retooling, moving from vacuum molding to injection molding. That was another way that we were able to go to market earlier and cheaper, was starting with vacuum mold versus injection mold because the tools are a lot cheaper. Whereas for a little robot set of tools, it costs us millions of dollars just for the injection molds before you even shoot one part. So it is not an inexpensive product to build, at least the way that we do it, which we believe the high-end tools, the high-end finishes that we have are important for the brand of Whiskers today.
And when you guys first started building this product out, you guys created an MVP and then you had to go take that to market and then get some level of validation for that. I'd be curious to see who is the first validator of your MVP to know that you had something that was a unique moat to the industry.
Back then, it was a trade show that Brad went to, and his validation was, did I sell any? And
There you go.
I think he sold 4, if I recall. That would have been April of 2000. And then it was a slow burn. I mean, we were fortunately just featured on How I Built This, and Brad just told that story. And when you listen to his first 15 years, most people would have given up. I mean, it took a long time for this company to get to a point where it was able to really evolve. And Brad's tenacity and mindset that he had on building something great, he just stuck with it. So I think in today's day and age, a lot of people would have raised capital. I think if we were doing it all over again, we would have raised capital, not because we wanted to grow faster than we needed, but to have the appropriate resources to grow at an appropriate speed. I think in the market that we're in today, now that it's a little bit more mature, there's more players in the space, we have to move faster. I mean, we've got to make bigger bets, bigger investments in engineering than we did, back then. But that first crude prototype today, what we do, we have, 650 employees, give or take a third of them have cats. We're going into our employees' homes first. I have a new prototype at my house that I just set up this morning for a new product concept that we're looking at. And I've got to be tough on myself. I have to ask myself, is this really a product? I mean, as great as I think it is, and I do think we have something pretty awesome on our hands, you still have to ask yourself those tough questions. Are you doing something that you want, or are you doing something that consumers would pay for? And I think when you can ask yourself those tough questions, kind of separate yourself from the situation, you're making big investments, you're betting big money on bringing hardware to market. Find people who are going to give you that tough love of, what did you do right? What did you do wrong? And is this a product that will be viable in the marketplace?
So the pet space has been inherently known as an industry that has a few things. they trade for exponentially high multiples. And then it's been known that people care more about their pets than they do humans. So I actually looked into a pet cremation business not long ago, and there was a statistic that showed that owners are willing to spend more money on their pet cremation than they are on their Nana's cremation. Right? There's a statistic that said there's about $7,500 for a pet cremation, and about $5,500 for a human cremation. And I think what you've done correctly and Brad has done correctly is that obviously you chose the right vertical, right? There's a vertical here that shows that people are willing to spend big bucks on their cats, dogs, and intimate loved ones. But throughout that, there's also a lot of competition too. You're not the only person in this space. I'm sure you faced a ton of adversity throughout building this company by other people trying to steal IP in some capacity. What has been some of the toughest journeys? And I know you stepped in as CEO over the last, several years here. Where do you think the biggest pitfalls have been while building this company at scale?
The first one that comes to mind is 2022. We launched the Gen 4 version of the product, and it was the toughest year that I've had. It's launching products is hard.
Yeah.
Launching hardware products is hard. Launching hardware products that you manufacture yourself, I'd say that's even harder. We had to build up a new product, all the product validation that goes into an electromechanical product operating on a new operating system that we built at the same time, firmware, software, and everything that powered the unit. At the same time, we own and control our own manufacturing plant, in which we were also expanding at that time. So 160,000 square foot expansion, bringing us up to 225,000 feet, all the while scaling up a supply chain at the same time. And 2022 was hard. It was hard on everybody here. I think that we all learned a lot about launching a product at scale. At the time, we were shipping hundreds of thousands of units a year. And going from one model to the next model, forecasting, you don't know what the market is going to say, good, bad, and different on, do they want the old model that's proven out and that's a workhorse? Or do they want the new model that's really beautiful and really cool, but it is new? And with our own consumer shopping, I mean, I trust Apple that when they're launching a new product, I can go and buy it. I can't say the same for every consumer electronics company, as I think people would probably say about us too. So I would say 2022, launching a new product is really hard, especially a product like the litter robot. And then especially one we proudly design, assemble, and service our products here in America. We have a 250,000 square foot manufacturing plant in Juneau, Wisconsin, ramping up people, ramping up supply chain, getting product out the door that you feel is at the quality level that you can stand behind. That's hard work. And I think that's something we learned firsthand. I think we're better because of it. We had the growth to follow, so it paid off, but it was a challenging year. Not everybody on the team stayed with us after that, both because of decisions we made and decisions they made. Look, it put people on the test, and we just did an all hands company meeting where I let the person who led that project share with the whole company how hard it really was, because most of our team, we've I don't know, quadrupled our team size since then, or tripled our team size since then. Most people didn't see what that was like. And we wanted everybody to have an appreciation for, it's going to happen again. It's going to be hard again. And we'll be better because of the last time we went through it, more prepared the next time we go through it.
I mean, that's massive. I mean, when I look at your company, the first thing I think about is cannibalization. You're looking at, you made this new innovation 4 years ago, and then 4 years later, there's something completely new out there. And then what do you do with that inventory? And these inventory costs are very expensive to incur and keep production going as well. Now, obviously scaling this at a massive D2C brand, that's also an easy task. Talk to me about how you guys go and acquire customers today. What marketing approach do you guys have put in place that has worked for you? And then what has worked throughout the process as well?
I think we were fortunate to really ramp up our company when we did. I think in 2015, it was a much different D2C landscape than it is today. I will say, fortunately, we didn't get overly addicted to cheap meta, acquisitions back then. So I'm not relishing in the past of what it was like, 10 years ago. we've had to continually adapt. But in 15 and 16, before influencer was really a word, we were all in on, influencer. I think we called them social celebrities at the time because I think the influencer word was at the end of 16 into 17 and 18. But we were all in on that. I was partnering with a bunch of these, very famous Instagram cats, and we were able to accelerate our impression share and our awareness very quickly. Going into 16, 17, I would say we produced our first commercial. I want to say it was our first big commercial in March of 17, and we really understood video better, which was an accelerant for the business. So influencer video, and then we were spending actually most of our money on TV with the new commercials we were shooting. We were buying remnant linear TV, and we were really doing well with that. We created like a basic analytics model that when the spot ran, we would track how much traffic we were getting, and then we would, pixel that traffic to figure out did it convert. So we were really using TV. We were using a little bit of Meta, quite a bit of Google. Going to 18, 19, we launched a big, I don't want to use the word viral video because I think that's an overused word, but we launched a video that felt like a squatty potty poopery-esque video. That was the thing at the time. And we did our own version of that in-house, and it just was an accelerant for our company. We figured out a way to tell the story better than we had ever told it before through video. We really helped people understand the problem that we were solving, and our business just accelerated. Going into 2020, the business ended up growing by 100% after we launched that video before the COVID wave. So a lot of people had said like, oh, you got the COVID accelerant. And don't get me wrong, it was helpful. The stimulus money was helpful. None of that was detrimental to our business. It was all call it wind in our sail. But the real success was that video that we launched before COVID. And so going to 21, 22, 23, a lot of those businesses that had really great momentum in 22, 23 started to slow down, and we accelerated in 23 and 24. So it really was us figuring out how to do video well, storytelling well. We continue to adapt our media strategy, but right now we're very big on Meta, quite a bit on TV, connected TV. YouTube is actually bigger for us than TV, connected TV. So video format is where we're really doing well. And we just continue to evolve our strategy as the market has continued to shift. I mean, we're much more focused on first party data collection than we are hoping to pixel every user and track them throughout their whole journey. We have a long buying cycle too. It's not like a put out an ad, sell more product today. It's put out an ad and maybe sell more product over the next 90 to 180 days. So we've had to build out our own model on how we track conversion and how we define what good looks like, how we're defining what good media looks like. And we've been able to scale that very significantly.
Jacob, something you said there really caught my attention. There's a video that went viral, and it caught the same wind as a scrub daddy, a squatty potty. Is that what it's called? Squatty potty?
Squatty potty and poopery were the two big ones.
Right. And one thing I think a lot of people would be very curious about is what was in that video. And there's like a certain hook. There's a way to retain people, and there's a way to reward people in every video, right? And you guys obviously figured out the right algorithm to go do so. And I think there's like a certain way to go deliver that. You need it, right? So tell us what happened in that video, and then how do you advise the people to make sure they understand how to drive traffic through video marketing?
It's funny. Sometimes I just laugh when I say these things out loud, but it's like, that was 3 years ago. That's way old now. I'm sorry, that's 5 years ago. That's way old now. What we did then would not work the same today. But what we did then was we figured out a hook. And if I go back to the original creative brief that we wrote, it was this idea that when a person watches this video, they need to never look at their litter box the same again. That was the theme of the brief. And if you unpack that to poopery, it was you watch this video and you're going to think differently about, in their case, it was, I think it was called Girls Do Poop. And that was like the way in was this idea of they were able to hit on a market that was uncomfortable for a lot of people, and they got people to pay attention because of that. I think with Squatty Potty, it was this other idea that you're pooping wrong. And that was their theme. So ours was scooping is a thing of the past. You didn't have a solution until now, and that you should never look at the right of your litter box again. So we found it funny. We started calling people scoopers. And it was almost like a mean word that we were calling people who still scooped. And what came from that was the ability to look at it with fresh eyes and say, just because you did this thing forever, the same way that you used to wash your dishes by hand, video doorbells, smart thermostats, robot vacuums, all of these things changed how you look at a chore or a thing that you did historically. And we tried to do the same. So it was our hook. It was this idea of getting you to think differently about the litter box. And we doubled down on that for 2.5 minutes. We cut it up in a bunch of different ways. So within there was like a bunch of mini spots where we were able to cut them up for TV, for Meta, for YouTube, for Google, for all different channels and find a way in. One of the ones that really upset people, but also got their attention was we had the gal with chocolate ice cream. Yeah, we're in the poop business. So we had chocolate ice cream and a chocolate cake. And she took her finger and she went like that with the chocolate cake and ate it. And said, "You're scooping the litter box." And then she pauses with your hands and she eats the chocolate cake. And it's like, it's pretty gross, but it's visually interesting. It's catching your attention. I got some lovely hate mail from consumers about how I grossed them out during their dinner and I upset them. And, look, what we did is we turned head. We got people to pay attention. We got people to stop and realize that we're trying to get a point across. And look, if you're sending me a hate email that you hate our ads, that means I got your attention. And you probably told 8 other people how much you hated our ad. And those 7 other people or 8 other people, they're like, wait, I have a cat. I want to go check this out. So I think you have to have a point of view. I'm not saying you should try and offend people, but I think you have to have a point of view. I think you have to come from a place of understanding the problem and understanding maybe what that line is that you walk. I think you could say the same for Squatty Potty, the same for, Poopery. They all had a point of view. It wasn't the point of view that maybe everybody wanted to hear while they were watching TV with their family, but it was a point of view that got everybody's attention.
Yeah, I think that's such a good way to put it. And you said that video was antiquated. That was 5 years ago. And the idea is have new forms of digital marketing today, and you use different sorts of mediums to go do so. Where do you feel that marketing is going today, and what works? Because 5 years ago, it's massively different than it is today. And I think that marketing is an ever-changing evolution. And you have to be on top of that continuously to make sure that you're meeting demand and catching attention, as that's the new gold. And, there's so many different platforms to go do so. And marketing managers today are, using AI, they're using human personnel to go do so. How do you understand where the marketing message should be in the future?
So a couple things. I would say first, it's understanding what your product, whether that's a SaaS product, a physical product, a consumable, a CPG, whatever it is, it's problem solution. And I think that's, to me, the only bit of attention span that consumers have now is problem solution, and a lot different than it was before. So if you're using TikTok, you have the luxury of entertainment. You can do something a little bit more creative. You got people's attention, but it does need to be cutty. It needs to be fast. It needs to get your attention. If you're on YouTube and you're trying to go after a pre-roll, how am I going to engage that user, right? Is it showing somebody scooping in a gray and black format, like a good old fashioned infomercial with a big X over it, like a no smoking sign saying don't do this anymore? Probably not. Is it maybe somebody scooping, falling into the litter box and you see a clump stuck to their forehead? Look, that's going to get someone's attention a lot differently, and it might get them to stay and keep watching. Whereas on Meta, a very quick cut, a 3-second visual, no audio on because they probably don't have audio playing. It's just different on each channel. And so I think at its core, one of the things that's beautiful about, internet advertising or advertising in general is if you have a great product and you're solving a problem, help the consumer understand what problem you're solving. Recently I started taking Grun's vitamins. I've never taken vitamins my whole life on a daily basis. And our kids started to take them. So I started to take them. I got sold on gummy bears. I was talking to someone about this yesterday. It sounded like a child saying it, but I was like, look, I'm eating gummy bears in the morning and I like them. But I remember the creative in the ads were this idea of like all of your vitamins in one simple gummy bear. And it's not that different than what EG1 said to me, but for me, I'm not a green drink person. So for me, the product, as much as I know the product is great and I've tried it and I think it's a great product, I'm not a green juice person. So for me, that wasn't the product that would get me there. But the green gummy bear, I was like, I can do that. It's candy. I get to eat whatever, 12 of them in the morning. For me, it was product. And so then they gave me, or I should say, it's product and solution. They gave me what it was solving for. That helped me understand how it would influence my life. And it was all in this really quick, short, visual static ad. That was enough to get my attention to then get me over the hill. I think there are products like Terra Cafe. I've never bought one. It's a really premium espresso machine. Their ads get my attention. I haven't bought it yet. Um, it, I'm not a, I'll say I'm a coffee brat, but I already own my nice Breville, so I'm not in market for it. But the fact that I'm talking about it, their ads got me talking about it today. So I think, it's this problem solution. It's catching people in the moment of how they're thinking about the content they're consuming. If I'm watching a Mr. Beast ad, maybe give me a giveaway. If I'm watching a tech, reviewer, give me the tech specs about this product that you're selling me. Like, be intentional about how you show problem solution and do it in a quick, cutty way that helps the user quickly get what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's you just double down on attention and knowing how to market. I think the one caveat that I would double down on is there's a lot of companies that market really well, but I think product is still somewhat mediocre. But they have large influencers out there who can market the product very well and create a mass audience. You guys have obviously scaled this to, I believe, over 1.25 million customers globally. Is that right? So even though you have a great marketing capacity, you obviously have a great LTV in place as well that shows that people love your product and you've been here for a long time. Now, as I dive into this, and I want to talk a little bit more about scale, and you're the CEO, and talk about a little bit more about your role on how you're scaling this to a very large company. There's an aspect of understanding how to go reinvest dollars back into product, reinvest dollars into marketing, and knowing how to understand how to go put money back into R&D versus, and growing profitability and revenue. And there's a dichotomy there sometimes. You as a CEO have to make important decisions of the company to understand, hey, are you guys going to be a profitable business today? Or, hey, no, we're going to go reinvent into the newest, cat litter box out there that's going to go change the world. We're going to make our 7th version next year. And that has like a lot to do with your performance as CEO to take those big bets. How do you assess that, Jacob, as a CEO to take those big chess moves?
So I'll come back to the first part of the question, which is product. I'll call it product market fit. Look, we have a great product. We're on our 4th generation of it, continuing to. So the 4th gen launched in 2022. We're still making improvements every month to that product. So it's a 3-year-old product, and we're still making improvements every month. We're still making improvements to Gen 3, which is almost 10 years old next month. And we still, every unit that's shipped is a little bit better than where we were before. Our customer service, we have over 100 people on our customer service team. Like, if you have any questions, we are here to support you. So when I think about product, it's product and product experience, and it's making sure that you get that right end to end. There are consumer products that you love. There are consumer products that you don't love. And it's usually related to, you can have a great product, and then you call service and you have a horrible experience, and now you're judging that product differently. You can have a horrible product, you call service, and it's such a great experience, you're now willing to give a little bit more patience to that product. I think it's the culmination of all of that and finding that balance. But look, we started selling at Best Buy. We have almost 500 reviews now with a 4.8 star rating. We have over 100,000 app reviews of the Whisker app now. It's got a 4.8 star rating. We have a phenomenal product, and I can say that really proudly, but that didn't happen on accident. When we launched the product, It was not a 4.8 star product. And I recently read, it was a really cool point of view from a VP of product at another company. First time I've been tagged on LinkedIn randomly from a customer saying, I bought the Litter Robot 4 in 2022 and it had issues. And what I love about Whisker is that each month it's successively gotten better and I haven't had to pay any additional amount. No subscription fee, nothing. The product just keeps getting better because that's who we are as a company. We want to make sure that product market fit continues to evolve and our customer service has gotten better, our company's gotten better, our product's gotten better. And so I think that's a huge part of any consumer product company, regardless of what you're doing, is making sure that you're really investing in product. Because look, if you get product right, the other things, don't get me wrong, they're hard to solve, whether customer service or operations or supply chain, they're all hard problems. But at its core, if you get product right, those things get easier.
Yep.
Um, I think on how we make investments and how I think about making investments, we've been profitable. This year will be our 19th year in a row of profitability. We've never gotten, too far ahead of ourselves where we're betting the house. But look, we are betting big. We just hired, or this summer, we will hire our 100th engineer. When I joined the company, we had one. Our product and engineering department is now almost 100. Uh, we're making a huge bet on the future evolution of our company across food, water, and waste, building a digital app or, a digital product system that really makes our products better. Your primary interface with most smart home products is now the app. And so we've got to make sure that we really get that right. We're betting big in the future of connectivity, the future of elevated hardware, and how that all comes together. And how I think about investing our resources is finding that healthy balance between, we want to take the next step, but we also have to make sure that we're comfortable today. I tell everybody in the new hire class, you are here because we can afford to have you here. We've never had a layoff in 25 years. I want to keep it that way. And so, I really want to make sure we're making the right bets at the right times. I want to make sure that we can afford to do the things that we're investing in. And for me, it's finding that balance at every step. This year is definitely a big bet. I told the whole company at the beginning of the year, we would have a tougher year because of that. And I've been very transparent with everybody in the business on what we're betting on. We're betting on it. And we're all aligned in that strategy forward.
James, as a CEO, you have to have alignment, right? And then you got to be a visionary at the same time too. Talk me about your role as a CEO and what you feel makes a good CEO today in running a large operation.
I think for me, I'm very people focused. I spend a lot of my, call it 8 to 6 time period, Monday through Friday, supporting our teams. I don't know if that's the right thing to do as CEO or the wrong. It's what I do. And so my goal, the way I think about that time is, sure, I've got some blocks on my calendar for my downtime, but it's very much focused on one-on-ones, product, engineering, marketing, unlocking others on their day to day so they can keep moving forward. And then I do a lot of my deep thinking time later in the evening and on the weekend. Um, I work a lot. I'm willing to put in the time. I always have been that way. I continue to be that way today. So for me, I'm also a night owl. So from 9:30, my kids are sleeping. My wife's probably gone to sleep at that point. From 9:30 to maybe 12, I'm doing the work that I really love doing. Some of the ideation work, some of the deeper thinking work. I enjoy working at that time. I also enjoy doing it on the weekend. So that's how I operate. I'm not saying that's scalable or the right thing for other people. It's just kind of a habit that I've built is I really use a lot of my Monday through Friday time to unlock others, my direct reports and the teams around them. Um, I spend a lot of my time in the office. We've got, 150 plus people now back in the office again, walking around, figuring out what challenges are, helping, get into, I'm going to call it the more strategic, important projects and hopefully making some good decisions here and there to help others. But something that I've recently been focused on really this year is I've historically been a solution focused person. And now what I'm trying to do better is define problem statements better so that other people can come up with the solutions. So Historically, being a smaller team, I joined a 25-person company. I identified the problem. I came up with the solution. We moved on. And now what I'm really trying to do with a larger team is do a better job defining what I think are the most important problems, wrapping those up with clarity, and then letting the team work on those. Um, but I think that's something I'm good at, is identifying the problems, going after the problems, and making sure those get solved so we can keep moving forward together.
Yeah, you talk a little about how you allocate your time and when you work with the night owls as well. And it's not easy to have a family, kids, animals. From what I see here, if you have six females in your house and you're outnumbered by as the only man in the household, how do you influence your family as someone who works a ton and you still maintain a family and assuring that you understand what that work life balance is? Because I think a lot of people have dreams. You listen to this pod and who are entrepreneurs who are speaking like yourself that want to go build very big companies, but then that sometimes sacrifices their family, people they love, in order to go do so. How do you caveat yourself around that?
I think for our household, it was alignment with my wife on, who I am, what I originally told her when we first met almost 11 years ago. And I like to work. I'm always going to make work a priority alongside my family. My family definitely comes first, but look, they're supportive. Like, I think for us, Monday through Thursday, very much they don't expect much from me Monday through Thursday after, like, before bedtime. And I don't love that. And I love putting my kids down for bed, but I do the mornings with them. So I have them every morning. I get them up, I get them ready. And around 8:15, we swap. My wife takes them. I head out to the office. And then Monday through Thursday, I would say I try and make it intentional, especially more recently, that I'm home for at least one family dinner. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I am fully present. And that is their time with me from like Friday at 4:30 until Sunday night when they go to bed. And they've got my full attention during the nap windows, which we're still doing. We've got young kids. I play pickleball, or I, go do something with my wife, and then set the kids go to bed early. Friday and Saturday night, we'll usually take them out to dinner and do something with them. And then after, we've got some time for just she and I. So I think everybody figures out what works for their family. That's what works for ours. She's super supportive of it. And very much allows me to be who I am Monday through Thursday. And then look, I'm very available on the weekend for my team as well. If something comes up, I'm there for them. But they also know that that's a time for me to be with my family. So I think alignment with your partner, and setting expectations on what's realistic and what isn't. Um, and that for me has worked really well. I don't overextend myself and say I'm going to do something if I know I can't.
Jacob, it looks like a lot of people depend on you, and you're driving a big family forward. You're driving a big company forward, and you're always setting the vision, right? Um, what is kind of the future of Whisker right now? I know you can't talk about product development whatsoever, but where do you see some of these big chess moves you're doing today that you want to yield in the next few years?
Data-driven connected pet care. We believe in a world where food, water, and waste are help you understand what's happening with your pet, notably your cat. With regard to food, water, and waste, I mean, if you really know how much your cat is eating, how much they're drinking, and how much they're going to the bathroom, whether their bathroom deposits look healthy, whether they're having straining issues or blood in their fecal deposit, or they're having a hard time urinating and maybe they have a UTI, or they consume too much food and yet somehow they're losing weight. They're not drinking enough water and then they're having an issue with their bathroom habits. Us understanding that full ecosystem is really going to be indicative of a lot of underlying health issues. And I think we're going to be able to bring a lot of insight to pet parents that they've never seen or had before, because it's hard to do that with cats. And I think a lot of people have bad habits with taking their cats to the vet. Unlike with a dog where you're pretty routine, your cat, you're often not. A lot of people are not. And, you know, I think it's a meaningful opportunity for us to bring insights to pet parents that they've never seen before. A really deep digital connected ecosystem that helps you understand which cat is doing what at what time, and making it really easy for you as a pet parent to not have to read the data, but to have the data tell you what's happening. So there's a big difference between having the data and then productizing the data and helping you understand what's actually happening. And I think as we continue to get smarter, right now, well over 1 million connected robots that we're able to, understand and learn from, and build better products because of that. Uh, it gives us a unique opportunity to help pet parents understand more about their cat. And for me, that's an exciting future. We've got 2 cats at home and a dog. But on the cat front, like my ability to understand more about my cats, it's really encouraging. It's exciting. It's motivating. I think it's a big part of what our team gets really excited about.
Do you guys feel that you guys will be going to other sectors, supporting other animals as well, or is it you guys are double down on the cat space?
Right now, I'm the best cat company you've ever seen. And I think once we get there, then we have an opportunity. We reserve the right to go after more. But I think in terms of focus, you gotta own who you are. And I think right now the cat world deserves Whisker to be the best company it can be.
Jacob, you've been a wealth of knowledge, man. Building the biggest cat platform out there for litter boxes is, I think, a unique niche, and you guys are definitely captivating on that. As I wrap up the pod, I always like to ask a list of rapid fire questions and get to know the founder a little bit more on, top of their mind and what comes to their mind and what they think about this. So let's dive into a couple questions here. If money was not an issue, what company are you buying today?
I don't have a company name, but I would say it's AI camera and data understanding so that we could really accelerate some of what we have in our pipeline.
That's fair. And just to revert that a little bit, tell me a little about the AI that you guys, are really implementing into Whisker today. I know there's a lot of, robotic aspect to it, but I'm sure there's a fair amount of AI that goes into this as well.
Yeah, I'm going to say less on AI right now, at least with current products, more of, I'll call it smarter machine learning. Um, you know, right now we're understanding the patterns of the robot, we're understanding the patterns of your cat, and we're able to send notifications because of that. As we continue to evolve, a deeper learning network will help us build better AI products. So things that are able to kind of learn on their own and really using the power of the connected fleet that we have, understand more about your cat, your robot, and your household. Um, and I think that's really powerful for all the future evolution of our digital products and physical products we want to build.
Jacob, as you've been, building this company for a long time, I'm sure you've had advisors, some very impactful people throughout building this company, Whisker. Who has been the most impactful person throughout this journey?
Absolutely the founder. It's Brad has been inspirational to me. It makes me want to work harder to kind of bring his vision to life. So I say the founder, and then a couple letters I have on my wall from Sheldon Yellen, who's the CEO of Belfour Property Restoration, which is the largest restoration company in the world. Sheldon has been a longtime mentor of mine. I think the way that he leads with humility and genuine care for his employees, is just so powerful, especially at the scale that they're at. And he still does his, signs every birthday card in the company. And I just think that human element is so important.
To underscore that, you as the CEO of the company today operate as if, you are the founder. You kind of have that same mantra as Brad. What do you think Brad has done in one sentence that has influenced you the most to be the way you are today at Whisker?
Do the right thing when no one's watching. No question. That is the one thing that I learned super quickly with him. Not that I would have ever done the contrary, but the way he thinks about that, the way he thinks about our team, our customers, how we've always just done the right thing when no one's watching. We turned down the PPP money, even though it was available to us at the beginning of COVID. Nobody was watching. We did the right thing when nobody was watching. So for me, I think that's something that I just got near and dear.
Jacob, you've been awesome. Appreciate your time. Where can people find more about you and Whisker?
I am super active on LinkedIn. I am very active on Reddit. On LinkedIn, I am Jacob Zuppke, and on Reddit, I am Cat Poop Man. I am directly in there with all of our customers, and I am super responsive. I respond to every email, as long as it isn't an AI bot sending me an email, and as long as I get some element of our name or our business right, I will respond to somebody, even if it's just saying stop or not interested. So if anybody reaches out, I am sure to look at it.
Cheers to cat food, man. Appreciate it. That's fun.
Thanks, Sam.